Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. And today is Saturday, the 11th of October, and we have officially, properly ish, moved back from Wollongong to Canberra. I'm back in my old crafty work from home space. I haven't fully unpacked in the sense that I still have piles of things, which to an extent isn't out of the ordinary. There are just more piles than normal. I have things mostly unpacked and things set up just a little different to how I used to have it. But for much of muchness, it feels good to be home. It's a little bit sad and stressful that we're back, in the sense that for 3 years we were living up in Wollongong, and Wednesday the 8th of October we had our big heavy uplift where we had a couple of removalists, or a removalist, and we had two dudes come and move all the heavy stuff and things that we had packed into tubs. We, as in my boyfriend and I, also had our cars packed pretty full of stuff that we either couldn't fit into tubs or didn't want to go into tubs for traveling in the truck. We still had some stuff left over. It turned out that it was more than I at least had anticipated, and that came down at a second car trip on Friday. So things went pretty good on Wednesday. Things were fairly straightforward in the lead up to the Wednesday trip. We had a slight traffic detour when we were about partway through our trip. It was nothing major or nothing inconvenient in terms of it took maybe an extra 10-20 minutes maximum to add to our trip. We weren't really sitting in traffic for too long. The traffic still flowed pretty well. There had been an accident on the highway. I think it was a caravan and car. Don't know exactly what was going on. I just saw a caravan on the back of a tow truck, and it was probably the second accident that we've experienced in as many weeks involving a car and a caravan, where last week we came down and a car, we just ended up seeing the shell of it. The fire had been put out and everything. The car had caught fire on the highway on our trip heading south, and hopefully everyone's okay. So on Thursday afternoon, Michael went back up to Wollongong to let cleaners in for an end of lease clean. Things sadly didn't go as much as according to plan as we would have liked. I won't go into details. Thankfully, everyone's okay. It just was a bit of drama, and it was a lot of stress and discomfort for my boyfriend that was not cool. It was not good. That said, we are here. We're at least halfway through unpacking everything and getting things organized and figuring out and trying to remember where we kept things, and then also realizing in some situations we've got too much of some things, where we've got doubles of some stuff, then we've got triplicates. I'm thinking toilet plungers. I don't know why we've got 3 of them. We've got at least 3, maybe 4 of those. Anyway, it's just a matter of figuring out how we're going to deal with, or what we're going to do with things that no longer fit in our lives, that we no longer need, and all that jazz. Sorry, bumping tables. However, we are here for cross stitch. Sadly, I've not been able to do as much cross stitch as I would have liked over the last couple of weeks, especially the last few days, including today. It's been a very low stitching day. I don't think I've even put any needle to thread to fabric yet today, and I aim to change that, noting that it is nearly 20 past 3 in the afternoon on Saturday, the 11th of October. I really am looking forward to getting some stitching done, and it is my headspace and need to try and get our house feeling as homely like as much as I practically can. It's also a very windy day today. Today and yesterday have been super windy, so hopefully the microphone's not picking up too much of noises. Last night, though, was a very odd sleep where we'd had a window open in the ensuite because of smells, and then at about 20 past 3 in the morning, I started hearing sounds as part of the wind doing its thing, and it sounded like something was in our ensuite and was sort of pawing at the door a little bit, of the closed ensuite door to get out. And my immediate headspace was thinking, okay, crap, do we have like some bush rats in the ensuite, or do we have something bigger like a possum or something? We've never had possums in this house. We have had other creatures that we've been able to eventually exterminate without too much discomfort. But it was just that very uncomfortable feeling or thought, rather, that there was something in the ensuite, and it being at that uncomfortable time in the morning where I didn't want to have to deal with it, I had to wait. Thankfully, it was just the wind, but it meant that we both lost a lot of sleep because of noises and such. So it's one of those funny things where back up at Wollongong, it took me ages to get used to some of the noises being in the city, so to speak, or in the CBD of a place that had lots of people. And I actually got used to it to an extent. I got into a little bit of a routine to understand that when the noises were going to be and when it would eventually be quiet. It did take a while. And now that we're back here, it is so much quieter. We're in the suburbs, and it is absolutely awesome and wonderful. I am rambling a bit, so we'll get into the cross stitch. Okay, so the first piece that I have to share with you of cross stitch is a piece called Apothecary Shop by Unconventional X Stitch. And this is where I'm up to. I'm stitching this on 18 count apricot fabric, hand dyed by Paddock Lane Designs, and I love it. I'm super happy with the personalizations or intentional personalizations that I've made to this piece. I am using Classic Colourworks Rainy Day for stitching the word Apothecary Shop, and sadly I've run out of Rainy Day, so I'll need to press some buttons and hope that the dye lot isn't too different to what I've stitched already. I have been caught out in a very different piece many years ago, and it was actually surprisingly a DMC thread that caught me out in terms of my learning curve of appreciating that dye lots change, recipes for how dyes are created and such. So yeah, it was just an interesting learning curve. So this, I don't remember how many days I've spent on it, but it's looking pretty good. I'm happy with how it's working out. Okay, now the next piece that I have to share with you is called Halloween Quaker by Lila's Studio. I am stitching this on 36 count, 36 I think? Yes, 36 count linen, dyed by Apothecary Designs, called Turbulent. And I have focused mostly on the little heart that we see down at the witch's boots. I've stitched the witch's boots and most of the socks. I still have a little bit that I need to stitch. There's also a very tiny diamond motif next to another motif that I'm partway through stitching. I'm happy with how this is turning out. I do acknowledge that my pieces need a little bit of ironing. I know I have the ironing board. I have no idea where the iron is. It's around somewhere, and sadly, we've unpacked majority of our boxes. It could still be in one of the boxes. Worst case scenario is the iron is somewhere hiding. It could be one of 3 or 4 places. I'll figure it out. Worst case scenario is that I inherit an iron from my nan via my mum. My mum has inherited a bucket load of things from my grandparents as part of their passing away over the last couple of years, and I hope all goes well. I won't go down that rabbit hole because we're talking about cross stitch right now. The next piece that I have to share with you is a piece called Under the Sea, designed exclusively by Dureene Jones for Lakeside Needlecraft. This is where I'm up to so far. I am stitching this on Paddock Lane Designs fabric. This is a 28 count opalescent fabric called Tropical Ocean. And as we can see, I have completed most of the 3 bottom pages of the piece, and I am backstitching as much as I practically can as I go. And there are still some stitching that I need to do with this piece, mostly the air bubbles that would, or have rather, been designed as individual crosses and such. So like the little air bubbles that come from the scuba diver or some of the fish and other sea creatures. And my intention at the moment is to swap out those stitches with some beads. I hope that it works the way that I intend it to. I appreciate that my plans for that may change. If you are very new to this particular episode, let alone to me, the specialness of this particular piece is that I am intending on stitching or entering this rather into the Canberra Royal Show for next year, and the theme for next year is Under the Sea. So fingers crossed, all goes well. I intend to have this finished by the end of this calendar year, if not very early next year. I think the cutoff might be the 18th of January. I don't know why I've got that particular date in the brain. It might be sort of end of January. Anyway, all will be good. And yeah, that is sadly it for the stitching at the moment. Because as I've mentioned, don't really have a lot of stitching, haven't been able to do much stitching. However, as part of unpacking boxes, pardon me, and combining, reassessing what I've got, how much I've got, and so forth, even before the move from Wollongong down to here in Canberra, I knew that I had accumulated a bit. I just hadn't fully realised just how much I had accumulated. And as a result, I have most of my projects in project bags behind me. I have also lots of project bags on the floor to my right, and there might still be stuff floating around. I really hope there isn't. I know for the most part I have gotten everything that needs to be in this room here. Anyway, my point is I have a very strong desire to do Stitch from Stash next year. How all of that's going to work, I'm not 100% sure. I am looking forward to finishing off doing things regarding spooky stitching and such, because I'm keen to get back into finishing off my very belated AFL stitching challenge for this year, which coincidentally at the moment is aligning with the gridiron stitching that is being done by a couple of people that I'm watching on Flosstube, one of which is Kim Hollenback. She is also the admin for Full Coverage Cross-Stitch Fanatics, and she started the discussion and such about doing the gridiron grind and or similar wording to that, which is almost the same as what I'm doing and have been doing for a few years now with the AFL Stitching Challenge. So I love knowing that I'm not too far off the mark in terms of using a sport to help figure out and organise and achieve results with my stitching. So the lots of things. I'm losing my words right now. I didn't sleep very well last night. I'm amazed that I've been able to get some semi-coherent sentences happening. With all of that said, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you've gotten a little bit of stitching done, and I am looking forward to catching up with you next week, where I hope to have gotten a lot more stitching done and I have more than 3 projects to share with you. And I'm hoping to get a couple of new starts, because as part of reorganizing things in this room, I've been reminded of a couple of projects that I've been wanting to start and I haven't yet. And now I have the opportunity to do so. So until next time, happy stitching, everyone. Catch you later.